Well, May is Stroke Awareness Month, and while the month is coming to an end, it's always important to know how to recognize a stroke and why acting quickly can save a life. We visited Express ER earlier to learn more. We are back with Dr. Wesley Hamilton at Express ER. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for being here.
All right, May is Stroke Awareness Month, and talk to us about what exactly is a stroke.
So there are actually two types of strokes.
Okay.
Most people don't know that. There's actually a bleeding type of stroke where you actually have blood that either comes into the brain or around the brain, and then there's a blockage stroke. So that's the stroke that most people think of. That's like a heart attack where you actually block off an artery to a certain part of the brain. There's two major arteries that feed the brain, but then there's branches of those, and so you have different symptoms when that happens.
What are those symptoms?
So symptoms can vary, obviously. Obviously severe headaches and that sort of thing are more common with bleeding strokes. So a new severe headache or something of that nature is something to be very concerned about. When it comes to what we call ischemic stroke or a blockage stroke, those strokes can vary. It can be anything from speech difficulty, difficulty swallowing, numbness, tingling, all the way to the things that we see all the time on TV where you have complete loss of function of one side of the body. So that's what makes strokes sometimes very hard. Also, there are posterior blockage strokes, and those can be very difficult. There was actually a recent study that showed even neurologists miss those about 40% of the time, and those come in basically with dizziness and sometimes headache as well.
And so for someone out there who may be experiencing these symptoms, how important is it for them to get to medical help?
So it's very important to get in early. The last thing you want to do is wait a long time. The sooner we can get to it, the better. It's just like time is muscle with a heart attack, time is brain when it comes to a stroke. So if in the case of a blockage stroke, the sooner we can get to that, the better. We have a clot busting medicine called TPA. That has to be administered within about 3 to 4 hours of the symptom onset. And so that is very important to get in early. If you have a major stroke now that is a blockage stroke, there are some interventions that can occur, but those need to occur within 12 hours. So you definitely don't want to start this at 6 o'clock the night before and come in at 8 o'clock the next morning. And
so if someone were to come into Express ER, what do you look for in signs of stroke, and then what do you do after that to make sure they're okay? Sure,
obviously if you come in and you're having any of those symptoms that we just talked about, those are the things that we really look for. Obviously we do a good neurologic exam to make sure that everything is functioning properly. So we're looking at your smile, looking at how your eyes are closing, how they move, any numbness or tingling over your body, or specifically any weakness either that we might find. Once we see something that might involve a stroke, we would send you immediately over for a CAT scan. We do those here at Express. So you go over, get a CAT scan done. That's going to tell us whether it's a bleeding stroke or if it's possibly an ischemic stroke. We really see blood early on a CAT scan. It takes about 12 hours for a CAT scan to show an ischemic stroke, a blockage stroke, so we may not see that early on, but if you're having all the symptoms of a stroke, we would treat you as if you're having a stroke at that point.
And then let's talk about after you have a stroke. What are things that people need to do in order to get back to their normal life?
Sure, that's a great question. You know, basically the two things that we think about is getting better and then prevention. So we want you to come in early, get treated early so we save as much brain as possible and keep you as functional as possible. And then if you do have any decrease in function, so if you have difficulty walking, speaking, swallowing, we would get you referred over to rehabilitation to try to get those things better. The brain is actually pretty amazing and can relearn a lot of those things. And then the secondary part of that is prevention. Is there something we can do to prevent that? So those involve sometimes blood thinners. It could involve surgery on your neck to remove any blockages and things of that nature. So basically the prevention side is a very big portion because if you've had a stroke, you're at risk to have another.
And so is this genetic?
There are some things that are genetic. It's not necessarily that the stroke itself is genetic as far as a blockage stroke, but the things that do lead to those strokes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, those things can be genetic. On the bleeding stroke side, if you have a history of aneurysm in the family, those can be genetic, and we actually recommend that people get screened by their primary doctor for that if you've had someone have an aneurysm in their brain in your family for that very reason, because we can prevent those.
All right, anything else that you would like our viewers to know about Stroke Awareness Month?
I think it's just important to say, again, get in fast. That's the American Heart Association. That's their mantra, fast, for stroke. So come in quickly, let us see you. If it's not a stroke, that's okay, but if it is a stroke, we want to get to you early so that we can take good care of you.
All right, Dr. Hamilton, we appreciate your time. I know you are a very busy man, but we appreciate all that you do for us and letting our viewers know about strokes.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
If you would like to come out to Express ER, they are located at 4157 Buffalo Gap Road. If you would like more information about their services, you can call 603-3400, or you can go to expresscare.com or search for them on Facebook.